What up, and welcome to the Roundtable. I am your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot. Pockets are a little lighter. After the Super Bowl, we didn't crush it the way we were hoping to end the season there. But there's no ups and downs. The only way out is through. So you got to keep going.
Only way out is through. And I'm not going to lie, though, Tyson, I feel kind of vindicated a little bit because you smacked me across the table and across the entire yard when we went head-to-head, all playoffs. And finally, the Super Bowl, we went head-to-head, and I came out on top. So,
You
man,
had
I'll
the
take that
under.
one victory. I may have lost 17 of them, but I'll take that one.
Hey, it was the biggest one of the year. It was the last one. We're gonna, next year when we talk about this, I'm not gonna remember that. I'm gonna know you beat me in the Super Bowl, but I'm gonna have no recollection of the rest of it.
So going through it just real quick, and we'll get into the Super Bowl stuff. I mean, I had the under that hit almost not comfortably though. I mean, if they would have kicked the field goal, I would have lost that.
Or if Joe Burrow has that last, 1 second there, or T. Higgins catches the ball to start the game, we have a whole different
Exactly.
outcome.
I thought the sharpest play was Bengals plus 10, the teaser, Bengals plus 10 under 54 and a half. I want to pat myself on the back for that because that was cash city there. I mean, props wise though, Tyson, I mean, not terrible. I mean, in terms of everything, I mean, we had Mixon easy over 3.5 receptions. I had the Boyd over 3.5 receptions. That cashed like literally in 2 quarters in a first play of the next series. Akers couldn't get in the end zone for me. Blanton, I mean, dude, all of a sudden the third string's better. Maybe the backup tight ends for the Rams are just better than the starters, like every time. Like Blanton's the backup, he's better than Higbee for some games, and Blanton immediately gets hurt. The third string we've never heard of. He's making plays. Like, I don't know.
I just think that they're stacked, and that's just the way that it works. Like, you get in the game and nobody's checking the third string tight end. All of a sudden, he's open.
But I gotta shout you out
Go ahead,
because you
dude.
called your shot on the sack prop for plus 500. Hendrickson, Miller, Donald, all to have a sack plus
Easy.
500. That was easy money.
Hendrickson first play or first drive of the game,
First drive of the game, cash.
and then Aaron Donald and Von Miller just lived in Joe Burrow's face all
Then
day.
just
So that one
lived in.
That one was easy. We knew that was guaranteed.
That was a great one by you. And honestly, Van Jefferson and my boy, I had to ride him out. And bro, he could have had 60 reception yards. Honestly. And he ended up with 24 and a half. I'm like, dude, or he ended up with 24. He's at 33 and a half. I'm like, you could have had 60. That one hurt me
But
a little. That might have been the one that was the most hurt by.
to be fair to him, he was maybe not 100% focused on the game since he did have to get rushed out immediately afterward to go see his newborn child.
True.
So I think we're going to give Van a pass on this one, just this once.
Just this
Second
one.
kid, it doesn't matter. You better put up that 34.
Exactly. Van, if you're listening, hey, come on. No. But did you see how he cashed that Jamar Chase over 2.5 rush yards? Do you see how he cashed that? That
Yeah.
lateral that he had to
Yeah.
reach back, grab it. It was a pass play, went behind the line. He grabbed it, went for 4. I was watching. I'm like, yo, that's a lateral. I was scrolling. I'm like, that's a rush. I'm telling you.
I was sitting at the party doing the Leo meme, like pointing at the screen,
Yeah.
and everyone else was like, "What the hell? Who invited this guy?"
Well, like you said, betting wise, we didn't end on the highest note we could have. I mean, we were close though. We were right there the entire time in terms of our big player prop parlay. I mean, Joe Burrow, they were in the backfield. We thought he could escape a little bit for those yards. I mean, he tried, couldn't quite get out of the pocket like we thought. Everything else, man. I mean, Mixon couldn't get in. It was a hard fought game. Chase, we thought he was going to get in. It was a Higgins game. So just missed the blue chipper. Which side you want to flip the coin on? Other than that, though, Tyson, it was a really good year for us. I mean, picked the Bills to win the division, obviously, the Packers, we had the Chiefs. I mean, we did our long shots, but we said who was going to win the divisions. We were close all in the entire time. You crushed the playoffs with your picks. I was sorry in the playoffs, so I'm glad I had a nice little rebound in the Super Bowl. But overall, I think it was a success.
Yeah, and it was fun, which is, I think, the most important thing, Brad, is that we all learned something. But for real, I mean, it was like every week it felt like we had one big one that was it was a guarantee. And then every week, we lose by a half yard here or a half yard there. But we will hit one of these like 8-leggers, 9-leggers going forward here.
I agree. All right. Well, that's enough about Tyson and myself and our bets. Let's talk Super Bowl. So let's give our thoughts. Obviously, Rams are Super Bowl champions. Rams are the champions of the football world. They won. I thought it was an entertaining game. I didn't think it was a great game. I thought it was a fun, entertaining type of game where you kind of were on the edge of your seat for a lot of it. I think it got stagnant. I didn't think it was well coached. I didn't think it was well played by either of the quarterbacks for I think a myriad of different reasons. Pressure in the Burrow's face, injuries for Stafford. I thought the play calling was a little lacking as well. Overall, I thought it was a good, fun Super Bowl just to put a bow on everything that happened in the playoffs. And it really came down to the last drive and from both teams. I mean, the Rams had to have it, scored. Bengals had to have it, just came up literally a yard short. Entertaining game. That's my biggest takeaway and what I'm going to think about. Tyson, what did you think of the Super Bowl?
Before the game, we had talked about how Cincinnati is here with house money, playing with nothing to lose, and that is going to be an advantage for them. Zach Taylor didn't coach that way. Zach Taylor didn't see it from our perspective. I think that him leaving Pirine in to end the game and at critical times throughout the game is inexcusable. I think that, to me, I think that cost us at least a look at overtime, potentially a Bengals hoisting that trophy. I mean, 2nd and 1 with the season on the line, and you're going to go to your backup running back twice when your starting running back has been your most consistent player essentially throughout the entire year. He wasn't having the best game, but if he's not having the best game, then it's pretty likely that his backup isn't going to be able to come in here and pick up the yard. Joe Burrow got that pass close on 4th down. I haven't yet seen an angle. I want to see how close, because
I know. Was it diveable?
It was I think it's a little closer to the Cam Newton fumble than people have been letting on. Just no effort. I mean, I was like, at the end of that, I was like, what the hell? But I'm good for the Rams. It didn't feel that big. It didn't feel Super Bowl big to me.
It was weird, especially it being in LA and the first one in a while in LA. And you got the Rams there, your supposed hometown team. It felt, of course, the Super Bowl is always corporate. You're not going to get the same decibel level or the same impassioned fans. I mean, you're paying $30,000 for a single ticket. You're not going to get your diehards there. They can't afford it, which I mean, that's another conversation in of itself. But I kind of agree with you, man. I mean, it just didn't feel like it felt like way too buttoned up for a football game. And I think the NFL needs to assess the way that they host a Super Bowl, because it's great, man. You got all these celebrities and it looks so good on social media. It looks so great on NBC. And then we're watching at home. We're like, dude, we've heard louder stadiums in FCS games. Like, we've heard louder stadiums in Conference USA. Like, this is a Super Bowl. It doesn't feel that way. And I think if they go back and look at it, I think there needs to be some major thought process about it in the NFL corporate office. Just like, hey, how do we make it feel bigger? Because on paper, that should have been the biggest game of the year. Okay, we're in LA for a Super Bowl. And the Rams are here. It's the first time we got this hot shot Joe Burrow. We have can Sean McVay get the monkey off his back. Stafford, man, it's a Hall of Fame game if he wins it. And it was like, is this a regular Week 7 on a 1 p.m. slot? So that was something that jumped out to me as well. Like, it was entertaining. It was awesome. Like, the game itself, in terms of just the entertainment value, but it didn't feel that way when we watched it from our couch.
And I'm kind of excited going forward here, because to me, like, the Super Bowl was like the 3rd biggest storyline of football over that couple week period. Tom Brady retiring, and then it was, what did Aaron Rodgers do? What's going to happen over there? Well, the Broncos just hired this. Every time you turned on anything, you were reading anything, it was Brady, Rodgers, then Burrow and Stafford kind of here, and they're in the C slot. But if Tom Brady's really gone and this Aaron Rodgers situation resolves itself, then somebody needs to tell the actual story of what's going on going forward. I'm not going to give a pass for this season, but I'm very curious to see how the post Tom Brady era is going to be covered in the NFL. I know that's a little out in the weeds, but that to me was kind of the reason that the Super Bowl felt weird, was because it was like, what do we know about Joe Burrow? He's cool. Pump as many cool Joe Burrow clips on
Right.
the social media as you can. Don't talk about, this, that, and the third. Trey Hendrickson's like a legit pass rusher in the NFL. There wasn't a story written about that dude, I don't think, in the lead up to the game outside of Cincinnati.
Right. And Jamar Chase is Randy Moss and T. Higgins is like really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all know Aaron Donald, and we know we know the storyline of Matt Stafford, but even that was like, you could have written so many stories or had so much hype going into it. Like, if Matt Stafford wins this game, we're talking Hall of Fame. Like, if he loses this game, And if Aaron Donald wins that, I mean, is he one of the best defensive players of all time?
The best.
Like, the best. Like, there's so many different things. Instead, it was like, oh yeah, this is the first Super Bowl in the new stadium in LA. It's like, that's not going to drive people here. And it's not like we need to be sitting here telling the NFL how to run their business or how, to operate. But I think when they look back on, like, we missed out on a huge opportunity to market this thing.
I think the NFL in general needs to stop trying to push where the game's played as hard as they do. Because you know what everyone else in the country that's not at the game does is somebody at your Super Bowl party or wherever goes, where are they playing this year? And somebody else goes, it's in LA. And that's it. Nobody's like, man, whoa. No. Who all do you think is there? Do you think that we're going to get some celebrities on? They could play it in Alaska. And, all these same people are gonna show up or buy tickets. Or Kanye West is there like wearing something just to make a statement. He didn't care about the game. You think Antonio Brown even understood what was happening on the field? He probably didn't watch a second of the game. He doesn't care. They're just there to be on TV, and they could do that anywhere.
Exactly. Going back into it, that was macro. I think micro. So here's a thought I had. Man, so Sean McVay got the monkey off his back. He finally won the Super Bowl. Good for him. I mean, we've tabbed this guy, boy genius, was really good, I think, for a while. I thought he had really good spots in this game. I think he designed some really elite plays. We're like, oh, that's McVay. Like, wow, that's who we remember McVay. There were times, dude, he was so nervous.
Oh my God,
like,
they both were.
I mean, but it's understandable for Zach Taylor. I feel like, he literally last year they were picking.
But is this in the Shanahan tree? Like, do these guys come out with this?
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, I'm just
hesitancy.
I mean, but for McVay, like, you've been tabbed this like boy genius guy. Like, oh, I'm built for this. I'm ready for it. You got the job because, like, oh, this guy's more prepared than anybody. He was literally with his play card calling a play. His hand was shaking. Like he had Tourette's. Like, and I'm not saying that like in jest. Like, I'm serious. Like, it looked like he had Tourette's, shaking on the sideline. He was so nervous. I'm like, dude, you're the head coach. It's the second quarter. You're winning. Why is your hand shaking that much? And I'm like, obviously, we're saying that here. We're sitting on our couch. We're out there. Name another head coach that's ever looked that nervous in that game and that visibly, like maybe internally. His hand was shaking, Tyson. Like, I've never seen something like that. I'm like, yo, I get it, man. There's a lot of pressure on you, and being tab boy genius that young and be like, okay, this guy needs to win a Super Bowl. We go all in just because this guy's our coach, and he makes a huge move to get Matt Stafford. Hey, I can win with this guy. He had to do it. I get it. But holy smokes, man. And he called it that way. Once they had the lead, and as soon as T. Higgins got that bomb for the Bengals led, dude, it felt like here comes the anvil in a cartoon. Boom, it's on Sean McVay's back. He's dug into the concrete, and he's got to dig his way out. And I was like, I don't know if this guy can handle it. And if he lost that game, holy smokes, what are we saying about him?
I thought, honestly, that when T. Higgins scored that 75-yard touchdown, that the Bengals were about to turn it up and that he was going to call a conservative effort after that. But one of the biggest things, I think, to me that was highlighted in this game is the Rams' need for a very not only just like average, like better than Van Jefferson type, but like an above average number 2 wide receiver or pass catcher out there, because once Odell went out, he was like unironically one of the most important pieces of the Rams run over this last couple months. But he was Cooper Kupp won MVP, But the way Odell Beckham started that game, he was going to put up better counting stats.
Oh, yeah.
A great catch in the end zone, catches that crossing route with nobody within 15 yards of him. Turned it up, and unfortunately, another non-contact knee injury for him in the same knee. So we'll see what that spells kind of for his future. Robert Woods should be back, which would be great, but like Darrell Henderson can't be the guy that you're relying on downfield because Cooper Kupp is bracketed. There has to be somebody else that emerges going forward if the Rams want to run this thing back. I know at the press conference today, Sean McVay was chanting, run it back, basically imploring Aaron Donald to come back for another year. He said, we built a super team, let's do it. But if they don't have a solid number two, it's going to be a lot harder, especially if Cam Akers looks like this again. Give him one more offseason with the Achilles, but this, like, they have to be able to run the ball because running the ball is kind of what they leaned on when Matt Stafford started throwing pick sixes there for a solid stretch of the year.
Exactly. And so kind of, if you didn't listen to our previous podcast, we broke down how the Bengals can win the Super Bowl and how the Rams can win the Super Bowl. And what we both agree on is for the Bengals to win, they have to stop the run because that's what the Rams offense is built upon, is running football, dominating the line of scrimmage, getting it in short yardage situations, and running play action passes. Well, they smoked the running game from the Rams. I mean, they crushed them, beat the shit out of them. Like, it was ugly. On the Rams front, they were able to overcome their lack of the run game. And in fairness to McVay and in fairness to Les Snead, the general manager and president for the Rams, that's why they went out and got Matt Stafford. Because if that was Jared Goff, and I like Jared Goff a lot more than other people, I don't think he's a bum, but Jared Goff would not have been able to overcome that. And that's why you go get Stafford, because he can make that no-look pass to Kupp and when you needed it. Like, plays like that, you're like, oh, this guy is fucking unbelievable. Because when I saw that, I'm like, dude, this guy is sick. Like, that's why you go trade for Matt Stafford. When that running game was stymied, because the Bengals did everything. They knew they had to stop the run. I mean, honestly, they knew if they're going to win, they couldn't let Cam Akers go 5 yards a pop, 4 yards a pop, or else they were going to get torched. They did everything they could, destroyed that run blitzing, or that zone running game. Linebackers are in perfect spots. Everything was blocked perfectly. One guy scored it through. Boom, plays done. Now you're in 2nd and 9. Rams has found a way to overcome it. And a lot of it had to do, honestly, with just Cooper Kupp making plays down the stretch when they needed it. Because the entire time he had, 4 catches for 42? They went away from, they were throwing to Ben Skoranek. Like, dude, if you're going to go out with your triple crown receiver, man, die on your horse. Throw it to Kupp every time. Like, I don't care. Like, you have to. Then, like a light switch just flicked. Okay, it's time to go to Cooper Kupp. Boom, 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 touchdown. Now we're up by 3. Like, you could have been doing that from the jump. Like, what was going on there?
It felt like the end of the Tom Brady-Rob Gronkowski relationship. The last couple years in New England, and then 2 years ago, I guess now, in Tampa Bay, where it was like, okay, this isn't working. I'm just going to him. And then they score and they win the game. I don't, for some reason, I can't talk myself into Cooper Kupp doing this again. As weird as that sounds, like this, part of it is because what he did this season is insane. To expect him to repeat that is kind of ridiculous. I mean, yes, he had the extra game to get as close as he did to all these records and stuff like that, but his pace through 16 was crazy. The dude led the league in every category and then won Super Bowl MVP, torched everybody along the way. And speaking of torch, we can talk about Jalen Ramsey, too.
Oh, my goodness.
He got eaten.
Hey, who was right? We called it.
He got eaten alive.
We've been saying that, too.
Yeah, he is. So he's much better than Juju Smith-Schuster. But what Juju is to wideouts, I think Ramsey's closely approaching to corners.
I mean, he got torched.
He got from both sides. Like, if he was with Jamar Chase, the famous picture right now floating around the internet would have made him, look like the biggest fool. But again, he gets bailed out kind of at the last second. The Rams special here, if you're paying attention to this game, and the Rams special is because Aaron Donald is special and Von Miller is special, and that defense as a whole played fantastic. I think they deserved to win the game. Overall, it was kind of what I expected in the game. was hoping for a bit more fireworks, but good for LA, good for Sean McVay. Just I think it's a little early to be like, all right, they're gonna do it again. It's just because for this is the first time where the league is wide. Like that dude, number 12, is not lacing him up next year, so the league feels like somebody has to fill that spot.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the Rams.
Exactly. Jordan hangs him up. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, we can all win this one. Brady's done. Oh, okay. Maybe the Rams could take it over. Now, I was high on the Rams coming in, so I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit again. I was like, oh, I think the Rams, they have a big shot, coming into the season. I don't think they have a chance next year. Like, I don't think they have a chance in the NFC. We'll go through it at a future date. I'm just going to put that as a little tease right now, and I'll tell you guys why later at a later date. After the draft, after free agency, I don't think they have a chance. But to put a bow on this before Tyson and I move into basketball, because we're getting ready for the basketball season, of course, because this is how social media works, and it warps everybody's mind. Now this game all of a sudden is about the referees. I didn't think the refs were terrible in this game. I thought they tried to make an impact on certain things down the stretch. I mean, the missed face mask on Jalen Ramsey. I mean, we can say, he got torched all game. That was a huge missed call, like a complete game changer of a missed call. I couldn't believe they didn't throw a flag there. Other than that, though, they let the guys play. I mean, down the stretch, of course, they try to get involved because that's what referees do, on that last drive of the Rams, and that's what people have up in arms. And, Donald's offsides and this and that. The refs did not have an impact on that game in terms of the broad picture of it, in my opinion. But did they have some sort of say, some sort of impact? Yeah, every refereeing crew does. Every game in any sport, the refs, the umps, they all have an impact on it. That's just part of the game. That's what you go into. I did not think that the refereeing issues that persisted was the major storyline of it. And I think anybody who blames the refs or is like, oh, well, the Rams won because of this, I think you guys are fools. And I think you guys are sore losers, whatever way. I think it's ridiculous to say that. The Rams beat the Bengals. The Rams made more plays down the stretch when it mattered. And that's the storyline of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's easy when it's at the end of the game there. I mean, a couple of those were pretty bad, but that happens, in the Super Bowl. This was the most watched Super Bowl in like quite a while. I think it was the most watched TV event in like 5 years or 6 years or something I saw, I think. So anytime that many eyes are on the game, it's going to be like, I can't believe. But that pass interference was whack. The holding, Ramsey was holding earlier in the game too. It's just, they were bad both ways. So it's like, what the fuck do you want? Like they can't be perfect and they didn't cheat one way or the other. So like, do you want it to be robots? Because then you would be like, I miss the old days when there was the human element. It was like, it's never going to be, it's a game, people. Like it's calm down. First of all, like if you lost a lot of money, if you're that upset about, like Joe Burrow didn't come out after the game and was like, well, the holding call there on 3rd and 1, or them being outside. He was like, man, we lost. That sucks.
Exactly. Well, Tyson, it sucks. What does suck is that football's over. We got a big time summer off season. We're gonna have the draft. It's just, oh man, does it feel like there's a pit in your stomach though every time the season ends? You're like, God damn, like this thing's over.
It's crazy because like this is the first. I don't know. I mean, we're Eagles fans, so I'm looking like the combine's in a couple weeks. Now I'm going to start looking at guys where they're supposed to be going. So it's like it used to be when the NFL ended, we had to wait till August, September, to get back to what we knew. Like the draft was like a blip. Now the draft has become its own thing. Like the draft is an event that people, you pay tickets to go watch some guy you don't know read names of some other people you don't know to go play for teams you don't even like, and people are loving it. It's like a 3-day event on TV. So the NFL never dies, and with the amount of smoke there is around the quarterback market this year, we'll be reporting on rumors and talking about that, I'm sure, and it'll be probably one of those years where nothing happens, but I think that there'll be plenty of storylines to talk about.
Absolutely. Like Tyson said, so NFL season's done, but it never sleeps. Like it may be time for bed, but this thing's staying up all night. We're gonna be talking football, NFL. I know you guys college fans. We have plans. We're gonna talk a lot more college football next year. So we have it all in the works. Also, coaching carousel. I'm not gonna lie, Tyson. We hit it the fuck out of the park last year when it came to coaches. I mean, so if there's a place you want to hear about, oh, I'm a Giants fan. What do you think of Dayball? We'll tell you. How do you think the Dolphins did with their hire? Mike McDaniel, I don't know much about him. We'll tell you. What do you think about this? We will tell you. We got you covered. We will go through it. Believe me, come to the round table. We'll tell you real analysis. We'll break it down in real fashion. No hot take crap. We predicted Sirianni was going to be good. Forget his press conference. Thought he was going to be good. We said Dan Campbell was going to be better than Urban Meyer. People laughed.
I said Urban was out before the end of the year, and I got nothing.
Knocked out of the park.
And he didn't make it a year.
So we're telling you. I mean, we got a tab on it. So don't worry. We're still talking football for you football fans out there, the people who are obsessed. But right now we're going to transition. Goodbye football. Hello basketball. We are officially marking this as a transition. So it's time for a little NBA catch-up out there. You guys been dug into the statistics, dug into how the playoffs are going, yada, yada, yada. Time to turn the page on football. It's time for basketball. And if you don't know, Tyson's Suns are the best team in the league, and that's why he looks like that. He's gloating, he's smiling, he's feeling good. The Phoenix Suns are the best team in the league by a long shot.
By
Tyson,
how much?
Tell everybody how good they are.
By how much you said?
By a long shot, my boy.
Oh, that's insane. That feels so weird. No, man, this team, like, I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about the NBA as a whole. But if you are not paying attention right now, if you're one of those people that is out there that is like, oh, it doesn't matter. They're pretty good. They're putting up numbers that, might surprise. They're definitely, every time I bring them up to somebody or somebody's talking about the NBA and I'll mention I'm a Suns fan, they'll be like, yeah, they're doing all right. Yeah, they're 47-10. And they'll be like, what? Like, oh, no, yeah, they're 40. And Booker's averaging 25, 5 and 5. They're the best team in the clutch. And it's like, oh, yeah, but the Lakers. Yeah, yeah. And to quote my boy Cam Payne, the backup point guard on the Suns, you see that?
No, I didn't.
They had him, and so now pretty sure this is an exact quote, but he was on Spaces after a game, and they invited him to talk, and he said, "We the best team in the world. Y'all talking about the fucking Lakers? They're the worst team in the West." And that's backup point guard Cameron Payne from the Phoenix Suns. That's an exact quote, and that kind of summarizes my entire feeling about NBA media right now.
Well, I mean that's one thing that we strive to get away from on the show. You can talk about the Lakers and how stinky they are. Listen, forget that, man. I mean, we're breaking down real ball.
Yeah.
We're talking real storylines, real things that actual NBA fans care about. And I bet you, if you're just tuning in, the Memphis Grizzlies with Ja Morant are the third best record in the NBA. I bet you don't hear that on mainstream media. You tune in to ESPN, they don't talk about that. You just hear Ja Morant. No, that team's good, man. I mean, he sat out last game and they blew out their opponent. I mean, this is a really good, young, deep team to keep an eye on. They're a game back from the Warriors, or a game and a half back due to some COVID stuff. I think they're three games less than the loss column that I'm looking at now. This is a legit team. We know how good the Warriors are. We know how good Steph Curry is. Memphis is right on their tails. Phoenix is 5 games better. Like, we talk about things that just don't dominate those storylines. So we're going to catch you up. Like, I'm a big basketball fan. I've been listening. We're going to get you caught up right now. So those are the main things that jump out to me if you're just plugging in. Phoenix is awesome. Memphis is a surprise. You know who's winning the East right now? The Chicago Bulls, 38-21, without Lonzo Ball. Alex Caruso broke his wrist. DeMar DeRozan has been unbelievable this season. Mid-range assassin. They said the mid-range was dead. He's resurrecting it. How real are the Bulls in your mind? Is this a regular season type of success? Like, how far do you think they can advance?
I think it definitely is at this point. I'd say right now, I mean, I would be surprised if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay.
Personally, I do think regular season, first of all, this team is really fun. And I think that is I know a couple Bulls fans, and that is the overwhelming sentiment that I'm getting from them. It's not this team can win a title because you look around and it's well, can we stop Giannis? Probably not. Can we stop KD in the series? Probably not. The Heat are, I think, the best team in the East. The Cavs are like actually kind of loaded at the moment with depth. At least they don't quite have a superstar, but the Bulls have guys that can just put 40 on your head, and I don't know how far that gets you in the playoffs. But I do know that they were my league pass team before the year, and I've seen a decent amount of them play or their games here, and they have like trying to think of a comparison, but that's kind of where they're at almost. Is it's like I don't know the last time somebody that was pronounced DOA on a giant contract shows up and starts putting 40 a night in a DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine just steadily getting better. Well, nobody paid attention for the last couple of years, and now people are like, "Oh, so this is my favorite argument in the NBA is when he was averaging 27, it was empty stats
Right.
because they weren't winning, but now he's averaging 27 and they're winning, and he's a winning basketball player."
Right.
So it's stuff like that. It's fun to see the narratives change. I don't think they can win a championship by any means, but I think they can push the best teams in the East. They're a hell of a lot better warm up for the Eastern Conference champion than what has been presented in years past.
I agree with that in terms. Oh, the Bulls, but the number one seed, like why can't they win? They don't match up. Just as a cliff note, they just don't match. Like you look at the Bulls
To most of the good teams in the East.
To most of the good teams. You look at the Bulls, you look at their match against the Bucks. They just don't have the size. Vucevic fine, but he's going to get dominated on the inside by Giannis or, Middleton and Holiday. Really good elite defenders. They can at least slow down LaVine and DeRozan. Like that's a tough matchup for the Bulls. Okay, well, what if they're running the Sixers? Again, you got who we think when he's locked in, the best player in the world in Joel Embiid. Now you got James Harden. We'll talk about him a little bit later. We'll see how elite he is. Then really quick young guards. What do the Bulls struggle with? Staying in front of players on the perimeter. Oh, but okay, then you got the Nets. Well, the Nets, with their additions and Durant, they're really hard to guard. Really hard to guard. Oh, then Cleveland, they just have a lot of size. And how elite's Cleveland, we don't know, but they can give you at least troubles on defense. Like it's a tough road for the Bulls. Really good story. Really fun team. They have another step, I think, to make that ultimate journey they want to go to.
And I don't see it happening for them as currently concerned. I think this is like before the season started with all the new additions, this is like what you hope for them to accomplish in their time of playing together. This was like the absolute ceiling. So they'd have to do something crazy to kind of put themselves over the top here. Especially we don't know where the East is heading, but it feels pretty much like it's going to be Giannis, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and you got to get through some order of those three, plus Eric Spoelstra in the Heat, like I mentioned before, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. So there's there's a lot more, and the bottom teams now are surging too. So I think the East is just harder than people are giving it credit for because people are still living in that, oh, the West is so much better than the East. And I think at the top of the conference for sure, but like the Celtics are 9-1 in their last 10 and they're killing people. The Nets are the 8 seed. Like once Ben Simmons gets out there, I don't know how long that 8 seed is going to last, but the bottom teams are decent enough to give them trouble.
And so here's the other thing I just thought about too. If you're not a huge NBA fan, here's a little change. It happened last year, or actually kind of bubble. It was 2 years ago, bubble. So 7 through 10 now are in a play-in game. So if you're like, oh, we're kind of looking at the standings and what does this mean? So 7, 8, 9, and 10, those seeds, they play in a little play-in tournament so they can get the 7 and 8 seeds. So that adds something there. So basically, if you're in the top 10, you're in the playoffs. So that adds some wrinkles here. So if you're wondering down the stretch, like let's say, you're a Washington Wizards fans or a Knicks fan even.
Or you're a Hawks fan and your team's just bored. Right?
Yeah, your team's bored of the regular season. I was telling somebody that the other day, and they were just as pissed as we were. I'm like, it's so ridiculous. But
aren't they actually the 10 seed though?
They are the 10th seed right now.
Yeah, they're just bored. They're just playing for the play-in.
Oh, So that's something. So, oh my God, we're 12th. We're 4 spots back. No. You can get to 10th. You have a shot. So that's something new here. Tyson, another thing I want to pick your brain about, the people I think maybe surprised about, the Nuggets, 6th seed. Oh, but Jokic is awesome. He won the MVP last year. Do they kind of stink this year? 32 and 25. Not, it hasn't been a great year for him. Jokic kind of flying under the radar. Give me your thoughts and give the people the thoughts on what you see with the Nuggets.
So when watching Denver, first of all, it's important to note that Nikola Jokic is maybe the most impactful player on below average basketball players I might have ever seen. And this is from like the biggest LeBron fan. I watched LeBron carry Norris Cole forever, but Jokic okay, maybe he's not that level. I'm exaggerating. But like Bones Highland is out here, there's guys here in Denver that have no business playing as well as they
Morris, Austin Rivers.
It's this dude, it plays in such a way where it's like, it almost looks like he's never played basketball before and he just stumbled onto the court and then he just happened to be really good at it and never changed the way he played it because he doesn't play like anybody else.
No,
but
he looks clumsy.
But he's always in control. It's the biggest paradox, I think, of the NBA in 2022. But like Jamal Murray's not playing. He's not an all-star guard. He's not even really a star guard to me when he was healthy, but he's an elite level scorer. And he's a very good winning basketball player. Michael Porter Jr., our boy, maybe going to play again this year.
I think that's the rumor. That's the rumor. We'll see.
Maybe not, because if you're gonna, like, if you're Utah and Denver and you're getting in here, obviously you're trying to win the whole thing, but like you also have to protect your supermax investment that you just put in to Michael Porter Jr. here. So I think that'll be interesting. But like the Nuggets are one of the, I think we said it before the season that they weren't going to win a championship, and it's just how much better can these guys get in their roles. Potentially add value, because I do think even healthy as currently constructed, got to go through Phoenix until Chris Paul isn't around anymore. It feels like got to go through Golden State seemingly forever. Memphis is on the up and up. Utah might be falling off, but like it's not getting any easier. So I think if anything, when I'm watching Denver, I'm like, oh, that guy could play in the playoffs. That guy could play in the playoffs. Like, two of these guys equals one first-round pick equals XYZ.
Now, I agree with that for Denver. That's Jokic, he's carrying them this. They're 32 and 25, just so dominant in their wins and their losses. It's just tough, man. Very injury riddled. Guys are in and out of the lineup a lot. He seems like he's the rock when he doesn't play. When he's off the court, I think this is it. To date, last time I looked at the stat was maybe 2 weeks ago. He had the highest influence on winning in basketball history when he was on the floor compared to when he was off, which is unheard of. So, he's so impactful, like you said. These guys, it just goes to show like how much like he makes the other players around him better, how much he highlights and adds to their strength and hides their weaknesses. He's that good of a player. MVP for a reason, reigning MVP for a reason. So that's a big storyline. I think Denver will be fine, especially when they get Murray back. It's going to make them deeper. It's going to add another scorer. He's not going to have to handle the ball well. So for the people out there, the Nuggets, man, they're kind of bad. Like, no, they're treading a lot of water, and for them to be in this position, it actually speaks very highly of Mike Malone and Nikola Jokic.
Mike is awesome.
I think another thing that people maybe be curious about when they look at the standings, like I don't know too much about it. Like I'm just kind of scrolling through it here. Dallas at 34 and 24. Luka's awesome. Oh yeah, he's great. But oh man, they always lose, or this kind of stink. Oh, they got a new head coach, Jason Kidd, this and that. Dallas started off really poorly, and they are really good now. I think they're really dangerous. Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic in the backcourt is so good for each other. Luka doesn't have to be ball dominant and controlled. Jalen Brunson's a really, really good off guard who can handle, distribute, make plays, get other people involved, can play, is unselfish, classic Villanova guy, works hard, plays off the ball, can hit a jumper when he needs to. Then adding Spencer Dinwiddie, sneaky good move, I think, for the Mavs, especially getting rid of Porzingis, who didn't seem like he fit. I think Dallas is a big time team to keep an eye on down the stretch. I think they could make a big push for a top 4 seed in the West.
That's funny because I think that they are going to finish closer to 8 than they
Whoa!
sit right now.
Oh
Than they sit
no!
right now.
Mano
This,
v mano again. Gee, I'm coming
yes,
off the high note of the Super Bowl. You're coming after me again.
yes, I'm coming after you. I think that the Nuggets can close in on them. I think that the Timberwolves need to close in on them. I think that is like that
Are
has to
you
happen.
staking your claim on Cat Russell and our
Here's
boy
what
Ant?
this is what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna stake my claim on Luca being able to have this usage rate and every single time he's on the court, he's shooting the ball or he's passing the ball to the guy who shoots. That's the way the offense is like being run uh, at this point in the season. Which that is hyperbole, but that is how it feels. Like he's James Harden when that's all anybody hated about James Harden, but he's not quite manipulative enough to finish it. And I don't think that I think it was a lose-lose trade, the Porzingis trade.
Really?
To be honest, I think going forward, it kind of I don't know what it does for you flexibility wise. In Dallas, it was a bit head scratching to me, but I don't really love this team. I think that the record right now looks a little bit inflated, and they do have a better player than most teams that they're going to run into in the NBA. But I think the last 10 games have kind of been a rallying point around the change in the locker room. Maybe that's what I'm going to pin it on, and I think that they fall back to earth here pretty hard. And I think that, I mean, I wouldn't. I think this team plays in the play-in tournament.
7-3 in their last 10, 34-24 overall. Really good at home. Average on the road at 14-13. We'll see. I mean, a lot of basketball left. I like the team a lot. Now, I know you wanted to talk on somebody because coming into the season, no Kawhi Leonard, really the depth really thin. The Clippers have the same exact record. They're a half game up on the Lakers at 29-31. Lakers 28-31. And we thought, not everybody. I didn't think so, as it's well documented on this show that the Lakers, I thought they're going to stink. Clippers are better than the Lakers, carried by Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris. Interesting. You have a thought on their additions at the trade deadline and where you think this franchise is going to go. I think I don't know if you're going to say it on here. I don't know, Tyson, but you think they're pretty dangerous, more dangerous than the Mavs, maybe?
I think they're like the most dangerous team in the West. I'm saying as a Phoenix Suns fan, if I'm Phoenix and I'm number 1 seed, this is who I want to see the least by a long shot. I think is what Phoenix is the best team in the West by a long shot. You said,
Yep.
And I think they're trying to avoid the Clippers if they can. And this is coming from somebody. I hate the Clippers. Least favorite team. I hate everything about Paul George. I don't like LA. I don't like. I hate everything about the Clippers. I hate. Just don't get me started. It's been like that forever. I hate how stupid I sound talking about them year after year, saying they're going to finally break through and accomplish these things, and then they shit down their leg inevitably. But this team, adding Norman Powell, huge, right? Adding Robert Covington, huge. Getting Paul George back at some point, more than likely. If they can get Paul George back in a amount of time that is manageable to kind of ease him in, let him get his legs under him, let them learn how to play together, this is the most scary first-round matchup imaginable because this is a team that was DeAndre Ayton alley-oop away from playing in a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals a year ago, and they're better now. And like a lot like what we talk about with the Nuggets where these guys are learning to play, it's a lot scarier on a team like the Clippers to me because currently constructed, they can't afford a whole lot else besides the guys they got on this team. And now they're learning how to play winning basketball. Terrence Mann came out of nowhere last year, and now this team feels like it could have 4 or 5 Terrence Mann scenarios in the playoffs. I think that, and I also kind of think Ty Lue's a top 5 coach in the NBA.
He's so good, dude.
I think that it was, he had LeBron and Kyrie. I can't believe it. But like he beat the Warriors though.
Yeah.
And then he's doing this right now with this roster. I think this team is, to me, like they are the scariest, followed by the Nuggets, and then maybe like then the Mavs. That's where I'd place them. I do think the Clippers are better than the Mavs.
There we go. He said
Yeah,
it. He just
and
wanted
I
to
think
placate me by the end of that. Oh, maybe the
yes,
Mavs.
but they handled them last year in the playoffs, and I think they're better than they were a year ago.
They're deep now. I think last year the problem they ran into is that without Kawhi Leonard, they got thin. And okay, so we're thin at the wing. Let's just go add an elite 3-and-D guy, Norman Powell, and Covington, who we think his offensive game has fallen off a little bit. He doesn't quite have that burst. I've never been a huge fan of Covington when he was on the Sixers. I think he makes shots when there's no pressure. When there is pressure, he always misses. I swear to God. Like, he always misses when there's pressure on him. Like, when you need a three, don't go to Covington because he's going to miss.
He's the reverse Jay Crowder.
Exactly. He's a reverse Jay Crowder. I mean, but he's a good defender, which is what they need. Because if you're going to run out Kennard, who I think is a huge, huge X factor for the Clippers, he's not a defender. You need another wing guy, Covington. Okay, go guard the guy that Kennard's going to be matched up with on the wing. Okay, Kennard will take the lesser of the two. That's huge for him. Versatility, which is what Ty Lue's always specialized in, too, for his rosters. Let's be versatile. Okay, we don't have X position here, guys who can do XXX. We have guys who can do all of it. We're going to mash it up. We're going to make it like just like a bowl of Jello. You don't know which way it's going to go. And I think that's what this team's like really kind of basing it off of. Okay, and then you add Paul George. Now we get our superstar back. Now they're scary. I agree with you. I mean, sitting there at the 8th seed right now, that's nerve-wracking. I think you look at it. Utah, we don't really know what they're going to be by the end of the season because, which we'll talk about later, how do the two stars mesh? That team feels like they've hit a ceiling. You trade away Joe Ingles, heart and soul. How do they react? Somebody else
Such
is going to have to step
a weird move. Such a
interesting.
Such a small market franchise move. It felt like
it was interesting to say the least. Head scratching. You don't quite know how that locker room is going to react to it. Clippers have an opportunity to climb this thing if they can keep it going. Right, they're going to have to keep this thing together for as long as they can. They get down a lot, they come back a lot. They're going to have to try to figure out how they can dominate games from an early onset and win these big time ones where, okay, we're 3-point dogs. We should win this one. Not, okay, we're 10-point dogs. Maybe we can make this epic comeback and all of a sudden sneak one out if we're down 30. So I think that's the next stage for them coming out of the All-Star break. Act like you should be there as the 8th seed right now. Before this new play-in tournament, you would be in the playoffs. Act like a playoff team and beat teams who are bad and compete with teams who are good.
And this is like foreign to me to say, but if I'm a Clippers fan, I'm like weirdly excited. Which before the year, if you were like Kawhi's not going to play and Paul George is going to hurt himself, I'd be like, God damn it! Like nothing ever goes right over here. But yeah, I'd be interested. But Brad, we say we don't. You're going to come here and you're going to get the real analysis, and we're going to talk about legitimate storylines. How basically 1 through 8 in the West is different than you'd think if you were listening to ESPN. But occasionally we do kind of got to go down there because the biggest trade since like the Anthony Davis one, I feel like doesn't even compare to this. This was a masterclass. And I guess getting what you want if you're Daryl Morey or business, this is, I think people saying that the Sixers got fleeced are completely losing sight of what. So for 6 months, Ben Simmons wasn't worth Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton. But then at the deadline, Ben Simmons is worth James Harden. But now it's like, oh, you gave up a first-round pick. We don't plan to be using that one anyways.
And they're basketball picks, isn't it? The NFL.
Yes. Like if you go back through, that's my favorite thing is when people get upset. Why'd you trade? You traded Phoenix, trading 20 whatever for Landry Shamet. It's like, oh, you could have gotten anybody, like somebody that might end up as good as Landry Shamet.
Yeah, we got Landry Shamet.
Yeah,
that's what we got.
The hit rate isn't great. So I think before we even talk about the basketball aspect of it, not the biggest Daryl Morey fan in the world, but I do really respect the way he handled this, and it felt like he was telling the truth. Like everyone was like, "You got to lower your asking price." But then he did a little bit. Like Seth Curry is a pretty big piece to give up.
Yeah.
But Andre Drummond was just like, he was playing good, valuable minutes for you. But Serge Ibaka, correct, is coming down to
No,
Philly.
no, Baca went to the Bucks.
Oh, you're right.
Who came over? I forget now. Is
Yeah,
somebody
we'll figure it out.
innocuous in a way? I mean,
But so is
Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap.
yes. But so is Andre Drummond, is what I was kind of getting at. This
Yeah.
was a guy that was signed to play, 15 minutes a game. And now he brings in James Harden, which people are like, oh, I don't get the fit. One of the best pick and roll guys in the league is paired with one of the best pick and roll guys in the league, and they both live at the free throw line. Okay, so maybe they'll argue maybe Embiid's going to want to pop and Harden's going to want to roll. They're also two of the 10 best basketball players in the world. I'm putting my money on them to be able to figure it out. And then just one quick thing, and then I'll let you get all of it out because I know you're ready. And I haven't talked about the Simmons side. I'm sticking strictly to Philly. But if I'm you and I'm a Sixers fan, I'm worried mostly about how Doc Rivers is going to handle this team in the playoffs, because Doc has the tendency to play his bench when his bench is in the game and play his starters when his starters are in the game, and they don't really kind of intertwine their overlap. And then that is how you lose a 20-point lead to the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs, and you blow another lead, which he's blown 3-1 series leads.
3 or 4.
Which he's
Yeah.
kind of got a history of like not mixing his lineups, and I think that will be kind of the death of this team if he doesn't do that.
That's definitely the nerve-wracking part, is how Doc puts everything together lineup-wise.
Top 15 coach of all time, Doc Rivers, by the way.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah. From the Philly angle, me as a fan, what I looked at it and just the broad perspective of the entire thing. Joel Embiid is the favorite to win most valuable player. This is his, for my money, best season he's ever had as a professional. He's dominant. He's figured it out. Not only can he just dominate scoring, he's dominating the boards. He's elite as a playmaker as well. In terms of a big man, like he's not Chris Paul, but I mean, he's elite for that, what that size can do, passing out of double teams, rotating down. Okay, swing. All of a sudden you get an open 3 for Furkan Korkmaz or Tyrese Maxey, just through him knowing the basketball play. Wasting that season with Ben Simmons, who's an asset, sitting on the bench for the entire season. He'll never play another game in the uniform of the 76ers. When James Harden, forget what you think about him as a person or as a player, he is an elite player. Maybe you don't think he's a top 10 guy. Maybe you don't think he's a top 15 guy, whatever. He's an elite player in this league. If you can get him to give up a player who will never play for your franchise, you do that 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. I don't care. Now, Curry is a big give up. I would love Seth Curry to be a part of my team still. I would love for him to still be. He had elite moments in a Sixers uniform. It's such a good fit for what they want to do. But you give up Seth Curry every day of the week for James Harden. Like, it's not a question if you can get that. So that's my first process when I went through this whole thing. Okay, but does it fit? James Harden's learned to take a step back in roles, starting when Chris Paul came to the Rockets. He's learned how to take a step back. Then Westbrook had to come. Then he had to go play in Brooklyn. He's not the same type of, I need to dominate the ball, I need to get mine. I think he knows, because this is Philly, and Daryl Morey may be his boy, but I think everybody with a brain can see that Joel Embiid is a better, more dominant player than James Harden. And I think you'll see it. There's nights that James Harden's going to be better. I think so. You think so. You think Joel Embiid's better.
You said everyone with the brain.
A lot of people who are James Harden fans have brains.
I do not think James Harden is going to walk into the situation and think that Joel Embiid is the best player in the gym.
But he walked in thinking Kevin Durant was.
It's Kevin Durant.
This is Joel Embiid too. I mean, I'm not saying.
But Kevin Durant's stamped, right? Kevin Durant is certified. And I think that's more of what I'm with you. I've been on the JoJo's best player in the world train.
You were driving the bus.
But, when you walk in, this guy, he can lay some rings down on the table. You lost to him in playoff series. You've seen the shots. I think that's a little different. I think where you might get into some trouble here is thinking that James Harden is going to care about winning as much as Joel Embiid is going to care about winning.
Well, then he's gonna have to figure it out. I mean, that because that's the thing. Like Daryl Morey, listen, I get it, man. You love Harden, that's your boy. You're the president of the 76ers now. You're not the president of the James Harden fan club. Like you're
He
here to
still
win.
is.
Oh, of course he is. But at least put a Sixers uniform on, a Sixers shirt, collared shirt on, whatever. Because your job is to win a championship and bring a championship to Philly. Like it's not to be like, ooh, James Harden's a really good offensive player, maybe the best ever offensive player. It's like that's not your job. Your job's to make sure Philly wins. And if you have to sit your boy down and tell James Harden, yo, James, you gotta fucking start playing winning basketball, that's what he needs to do. And at the same time, I think Joel Embiid, this needs to be his team, his franchise, where he's gonna have to sit him down and be like, yo, this is my team, my way the highway. You're just here. You're my number two. You're my Robin. I'm the Batman here. So you need to fall in line. As soon as those boundaries are established, what, James, you're going to leave a third team? You're going to leave a third team in 4 years? Like you got to do one thing. And if you wanted to come to Philly all along, as he said, this was my number one, then you need to make some tough decisions. You want to be dropping 35 on 40 shots a night, or do you want to play and actually have a chance to win a championship? And with Joel Embiid, this is the best number two you've had as a star player. It's time to either put up or shut up. That's my Sixers thoughts on it. I know you have some Nets thoughts, but that's my thing as a Sixers fan, just that angle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of we'll be able to tell, I think, quicker than normal how this is going to work. I think James Harden on the Nets, right? We had didn't play a lot last year and then bought in for the playoffs, which is a different kind of thing, but still wasn't all the way healthy and kind of didn't seem like he was playing as hard as uh, we've seen him play in the past, I guess. Like his last series, or when they beat Chris Paul and the Thunder in the bubble, that was like the most locked in I've seen James Harden. He wasn't like that last year. And I think that if he's standing 35 feet away from the basket while Joel Embiid is in the post and he's not moving because he doesn't have the ball, which we've seen him do in the past, then this thing will be a disaster. Because I do think that Joel Embiid is the type of personality, much like Chris Paul, that is going to be like, dude, you need to shape up because like this isn't working. And unlike the situation with Chris Paul, Harden's not the kind of the more powerful one here in this dynamic between the two. Joel Embiid is going to be like, look, I don't care if we just paid him 5 for 270, like him or me, because this isn't going to work. But Joel Embiid just stared down one of those situations, won, and so did Ben Simmons. Like I think this is
It's a win-win.
Has to be, right? Because when your other prospects were getting flipped to Sacramento, where obviously he's not going to want to play. Nobody wants to play there. Don't listen to what Sabonis said. He's lying. He doesn't want to be there for the rest of his career. Or like go be CJ's running mate if somehow the Dame Lillard deal gets done over in Toronto. He gets to go play with Kevin Durant. He gets to play with Kyrie Irving on Mondays and Fridays on out-of-town games.
What Chuck say? Half man, half a season.
But that is true. I mean, it is ridiculous. Like I think I read something that Kyrie can only play in like 8 or 12 games remaining this year. I think that's going to be super detrimental to the Nets, and I think, as we've known all along, that might be the thing that costs him. But I'd love the Ben Simmons fit. I think in Brooklyn, I think getting Seth back, Seth Curry. Andre Drummond can start at the 5 for them, and he probably will. And depending on scenario, you could run LaMarcus Aldridge, I guess, if you really wanted. But he's not going to be asked to score because that's what Kevin Durant does, and that's what Kyrie Irving does. What Kyrie Irving doesn't do is guard. What Ben Simmons does better than almost anybody else that's ever been his size is guard point guards. Like he can guard anybody, but he can really lock in the East. He can take some bumps from Giannis. Obviously, we've seen in the past he's not exactly a Giannis stopper, but nobody is. But he can get up in Jimmy Butler and guard him. He can guard, you run down the list, Lonzo Ball or DeMar DeRozan, whoever you want in the East there. He can kind of step up and guard, which is something that honestly the Nets weren't going to get with Harden. And I don't think that Brooklyn was looking at winning a championship as currently constructed. It was weird that this trade is what flipped the odds.
I know.
Like now they're worse because they got somebody who's So that was funny. But I just like Ben Simmons just went from the most hostile fan base in the league, and a situation he didn't want to be in, to like New York's B list. It didn't even really matter that all this stuff was going on in Brooklyn because it was like, well, the Knicks are bad.
Exactly.
So like he's going to be on the back page of the newspapers and stuff like that. So I think that it's pretty perfect for Ben.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look at it too, like, what does Ben Simmons not want to do? What does he refuse to do his entire career? Shoot the basketball, score the basketball. What can he easily get away with not doing for Brooklyn? Scoring and shooting. That's why you have Durant. That's why you have Seth Curry. That's why you have Kyrie. That's why you have LaMarcus Aldridge. Cam Thomas. I mean, I can just distribute and play defense, which is I wanted to do the entire time. Perfect. I'm not getting asked questions about what's going on because there's Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Perfect. Like, this is a dream for him in a personalized situation. Well, how's he going to handle New York media? Oh, he'll be fine because they're all down at Madison Square Garden because Tibbs and Julius Randle suck. Like, they'll be fine. Oh, Kevin Durant dropped 50 tonight. Sure, crickets. Oh, this team lost 10 in a row. Crickets. Like,
Nothing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So this is what he wanted. A situation where he can come in, play basketball how he wanted to play. Oh, I wanted to be the star. I wanted to be franchise. No, you didn't, because your actions would have said otherwise. You would have actually cared. You would have worked hard on your game. No, what you want to do is you want it to be easy because everything's come easy to Ben Simmons. So here's an easy situation. So don't fuck it up. Congratulations. You're walking into an elite situation where you can have impact the way you want to have impact, and you can defer, and you can do things how you want it to be done. And if you fuck up this situation, you're done. So good luck in Brooklyn. You got what you wanted, a fresh start, an ability to play the game how you want it to be played. And we'll see what happens for the Nets. But I mean, in terms of what the trade was for the Nets, I thought it was a really good trade for him. Great, probably not. I think it would have been a great trade if they would have been able to get Maxey out of the deal. Couldn't do that. But, they got size in Drummond, something they needed. They got rebounding in Drummond, which is, I think, the most important thing they needed. They got defense in Simmons. They got length in every single person they got. And they got more shooting in Curry. I mean, for both teams, Nets and Sixers, it's a win-win. So I thought it was a fair deal. Thought it was a deal that made sense, I think, across the board for every single party involved. And all it is we got it. Tyson once after the All-Star break, once it seems like both Simmons and Harden will be back, that's the way we can judge this trade.
They're 100% going to play each other in the playoffs.
Oh, I can't wait.
They're 100% going to meet up in the playoffs because the NBA is a soap opera, and it's Ayesha Curry told us that it's scripted, and I choose to believe her.
I believe her.
So no, but I mean, what happens then if it's game, game one of the second round, and Ben Simmons is supposed to be in Philadelphia? You think what they gave to Santa was bad?
Oh man,
this is
March 10th. We'll get a little taste of it.
I don't think he plays there in the regular season.
He said he's eyeing the return. You think that?
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
That return.
Yeah, from his gaming chair on Twitch, where he's been eyeing going back to Philly since the end of the Hawks series. Oh,
from his gaming chair on Twitch. That's awesome. Well, that's our thoughts on Harden Simmons. Huge blockbuster trade. And we're going to wrap this one up, this podcast here, with a little Zion Williamson news. So, story comes out. Zion may need another little foot surgery. Probably going to shut him down for the year. Bunch of rumors floating around. He's out of shape. He's fat, 340 pounds. Is he ever going to be good again? He's ever going to play again? Bunch of different things floating around Zion. I think what concerns me about those kind of comments around everything is there's been no disputes from the Zion Williamson camp, because normally it comes out like he's really fat and he's looks terrible, and then his camp will be like, you guys have no idea what we're talking about. You're talking about Zion Williamson's been in the gym. Zion looks great. His rehab's coming along. It's like, man, Zion looks fat and he's really out of shape, and it's just crickets. Like, Jesus, is he guy 360? Like 340? They're like, yeah, we'll get away with 340 because this is really 360. Like, that's what concerns me about this story. Is there's been nothing on his end of an update about anything. It's just like, hey, we really didn't like the Pelicans like last year when he was healthy. It's like, yeah, but you haven't been healthy because you broke your foot and you've been away from the team. It's like, is he going to be good? I never thought that he was going to play this season. So this story doesn't surprise me. I think this is in a way, I was telling you before we got on, I think this is just another story for them to justify shutting him down for the year. I don't think this is going to be a major surgery. I think it's kind of like a cleanup deal. Like, okay, let's just go in. We felt a little discomfort, probably something with some scar tissue. Let's clean everything up. Let's get him ready for next season. We just got CJ McCollum. Brandon Ingram's had his best year as a pro. And let's get ready for the next season when we could really attack it in the offseason with some cap space we got too. That's my thought process behind it. Does this story concern you that Zion needs another foot surgery?
Hell yes. You're approaching it as you're a Dookie. You love.
Oh yeah, I love him too.
This is your boy. So
My
it's
boy.
like if it's just a little cleanup, he's got to have a little foot surgery. He's fine. I mean, this is Greg Oden played 82 games in 3 years. Zion Williamson's staring at 85. Zion Williamson's going back under the knife. Zion Williamson hasn't been seen in public outside of a Mountain Dew commercial where he looks much bigger than he did at the end of the year. And that one picture that made his rounds on the internet where he looks huge. I'm saying I've seen this dude twice in a year, and he looks 340. And now he's like, he's going back under the knife because something went wrong in his rehab. But if he really is that big, it's going to be hard for him to even, continue to rehab and get back to the point where he's Zion Williamson again. And I don't want to pass any judgment on the dude, and I'm really hoping to see him play again because he's electric. He's awesome. But get in the fucking pool. Like, yo, like, what are we doing? Like, your foot hurt. Okay, so you can't put weight on it. Get in the pool, dude. You want to lose weight, or do you want to just collect this bag, make your Mountain Dew money, your Nike money, and whatever you got from Coach K at Duke, and ride off in the sunset, weighing 400 pounds, eating good in New Orleans? Because it's kind of starting to feel a little bit more like that. I'm not saying that's where we're at now, but it's like, it's more believable than it was when he got drafted. And it was like, haha, Zion's going to get so fat in New Orleans. And now it's like, oh shit, Zion got super fat in New Orleans.
Right.
So, like, the discipline on this dude, and like, it just, everything about this guy was like perfect coming out of high school and college. He's awesome and all this and that. And everything since he's been in the league has been very hush hush. And I'm kind of leaning towards we might get like an explosive Zion piece before Zion hits the court again, because I do think that this is concerning. And I think that there's a chance he misses the start of next year if it is what people are saying. I don't think the incentive for a lot of people reporting on this, I think them saying Zion to miss more time, I just like, it's concerning to me. It really is.
I mean, it is when you break it down that way, certainly is concerning. Like, yes,
and hang on, I don't want to hear Joel Embiid play 31 games in 3 years, because that dude is like the exception to the rule, and we have plenty of other points showing you got to play basketball. Like, Joel Embiid is from Mars; they don't make him like him.
It is concerning when you talk about, okay, Zion Williamson going under the knife again. Zion Williamson has health rumors or weight rumors that this is not good. Had an injury in college, had an injury, a little tweak in high school. Now he had major surgery. Oh, now he needs another something. It is concerning from a New Orleans Pelicans standpoint. We're like, hey, we traded Anthony Davis, and I have my thoughts on Anthony Davis, but we traded Anthony Davis for this guy because this guy is our future. We're going to get one half season out of him in 3 years.
And not even that, too. It's the season where he averaged like 27 on 64%, just to show you how good he is.
Yeah.
And then
just to tease you.
And then just disappeared.
So that when you frame it that way, I think it is concerning. Now, I'm cynical. Maybe it's because he's my guy and I'm a Duke fan and he's my guy, that I'm gonna be like, listen, he's gonna come back and be fine. They're cleaning it up. We'll be good. So I'm going to take the benefit of the doubt on this one. I'm going to give it to him here, where he's assessing the situation. His camp's assessing it. The Pelicans are assessing everything like, hey, we're going in the right direction. Brandon Ingram's awesome. We got CJ McCollum. We got the veteran guard. We're ready. All we need is you, Zion. You're going to give you this offseason and get back in shape. You're going to get your foot right. You're going to come back and be good. So I'm going to be positive for the first time in my life, I think.
Two entities that have never told us to trust what they have going on is the
And
two.
I'm trusting them. I'm jumping right in the pool.
I love it.
I'm jumping right. And you said get in the pool, Zion. It reminds me of that LeBron commercial. Remember that old school when he's running in the pool? What do you think? Michael Jordan worked out in the pool?
Yeah, Michael Jordan worked out in a damn pool.
That means to be Zion. We need to see a Zion pool commercial.
But I mean, like, this is. I hope for our sake and fans of the NBA, this dude is so good.
So good.
People don't understand how good he is, because he's like, he's more famous for his high school mixtape at this point than he is for his NBA career. And if I'm in his camp, I'm telling him how embarrassing that is.
Got to. Problem is his stepdad runs his camp.
Yeah, it worked with Uncle Dennis, though. He got Kawhi wherever he wanted to go. Maybe he just doesn't want to. Maybe he's getting. Charles Barkley got fat, so he didn't have to get drafted by a team, and that backfired on him. Maybe Zion's took him a little bit too long to get the plan, but he's trying to force his way out.
He's pulling the James Harden. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Both lefties.
Yeah, I think that's where the comparison stopped.
All right, Tyson. Fantastic conversation with you as always. A little football, a little basketball. NFL fans, hey, we got to turn the page. Football fans, we had to do it. It's basketball time now. Tyson are going to go in full force, but don't worry. As we mentioned, we're still talking football. Like, we're here for you. Like, you don't have to be in your room curled up in a ball crying yourself to sleep. Like, we got you. We're still talking coaches. We're talking off seasons. Like, we're good. But basketball fans, hey, it's your time to shine, and we're here right with you, getting you fired up for it.
Yeah, and I said Phoenix Suns 47-10. They're now 48-10. So we will talk about them getting to 50 wins on the next pod.
And if you're not watching on YouTube, man, he's glowing like he's looking at his son dunking a ball or saying his first words. He's so happy right now.
I am. I mean, I got to get down there, man. I got to make it out to a game.
He's got to do it. As always, we appreciate you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, whether you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate the love on there as well. If you're watching us virtually, seeing Tyson's luscious beard, feel free to share with your friends as always too. Get the word out. We really appreciate it. Follow the social medias. Follow the Instagram page for the Roundtable @_the Roundtable Pod _. Follow me on Twitter @BWakai, BWAKAI. Tyson Gentry on Instagram Tyson Gentry, GENTRI. And as always, guys, until next time, peace.